Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments, and I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. Woo! Let me tell you, we got dumped on here in Chicagoland with snow over the last 24 hours. I think about, I don't know, I couldn't go to the health club this morning, which it was cardio day, so it was okay with me because I got to shovel. But probably I would guesstimate between 7 to 10 inches of snow. So yeah, that was what I got up and did. Ran out to the grocery store beforehand today. Still got to get in about 200 sit-ups today before my work is done. How are things going in your neck of the woods? Welcome to Tuesday, the 16th of February. Have you eaten all of your chocolates that you got or gave, and you're helping the person you gave them to eat them for Valentine's Day? We are on a healthy kick here at on Smoky Court here in Naperville. So we did have one little cupcake each that my husband Brian brought home. Valentine's Day was really sweet. So anyway, it's Tuesday. You know, this Mercury retrograde, I'm still hearing from a lot of people that things were just all over the place for the last week or so. For them, what about you? I'm curious. I'm gonna need to do some research into that. I experienced it myself. How about you? It's been a great week so far here on Bathrobe Moments. Yesterday, we had Andrea Mielati here, and she was a specialist, certified coach in ADHD. And today, we're moving to another subject that is health related. I guess you would say health. Yeah. Well, What do you think? Not ADHD. What's it called? Autism. Autism. And we've had people here from time to time. Tom Island, a huge advocate for autism. Tucker Bearden, dealing with Asperger's, has been here several times. And we are absolutely excited about today's guest, J.R. Reed. Now, what a colorful character he is. Let me just tell you a little bit about it, and a little disclaimer. If we may have a little issue, like we did yesterday with Andrea, just a little issue with the internet on his end of the spectrum. And why? Because, well, he is in the Ozark area of Missouri, the Ozarks, and the internet. I think he said he drove 40 minutes this morning to get to a place where he could have internet. So he's in his car with his laptop. And so we're going to do our best. The promise says that where we come together, two or more, something wonderful will happen. And that has nothing to do with the internet. It happens to do with command presence and us being here for and with each other. Can I get an amen? That's the bell of purpose. It is no stranger to Bathrobe Moments. It is your opportunity, my opportunity, our opportunity to collectively be a part of something greater than ourselves. So when you hear the bell rings, it means that someone has threw some golden eggs out on the floor, out on the stage, on the seat next to you. Pick them up, take them with you, give them to someone you encounter. And also, it's a chance to share the broadcast out. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't cost. Just hit the share button, invite one person in, pay it forward. Watch how that affects the trajectory of your day when you start by giving anything of value to someone else. There we go with the bell again. JR, he is an autism self-advocate who preaches is it supposed to be diversity? Neurodiversity? Okay, I'm wondering if that's typo. I'm not sure, because any word over 6 letters, I'm like, whatever. So let's see. Does it all from a log cabin in the Missouri Ozarks. That's why he had to travel this morning. He blogs, speaks, and writes on a wide variety of topics affecting adults with developmental disabilities. He's spoken to groups, companies, and at the Missouri State Capitol. You can find out more about JR and some of his writings if you visit notweirdjustautistic.com, and we'll throw that connector on the screen here in a bit. So that's what that's the bio of Mr. JR. Now, a little bit about autism, just to get everybody on the same page as we get our guest in here. Now, autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, refers to a group of conditions characterized by difficulty in social functioning and repetitive behaviors or stereotyped interests. The term spectrum connotates that within this category, there is a tremendous heterogeneity. Ooh, see? How many count those letters? 1, 2, okay, I already got to 6. Something. In 2013, the American Psychiatric Association merged 4 distinct autism diagnoses into one umbrella diagnosis, now called autism spectrum disorder. If you want to learn more about that, I found my information at Autism. Learn more about autism.com. So I'll put that into the comments before we get out of here today. I want to get my guest in here because he's waiting in his car. I don't know how cold it is, but he's keeping the car running, so it must be probably is cold. The Ozarks. That's where I went with my Air Force buddy back. I don't know, what was that? July we went there. Stayed at the Margaritaville Resort down there, and it was a really beautiful, very friendly people, really nice. So without further ado, you know what we do, right? Put your hearts on the screen, put your hearts into it, send some love, some light, and let's welcome J.R. Reed in true Bathrobe Moment fashion. Here he comes. Well, howdy. Oh, okay, there he is. Hey, is that a blue? What's that called? A
It's
goatee?
a purple. It's purple goatee, and it is award winning. I was in a contest with 5 other guys, and I won.
Yeah.
So
What was the contest?
I can say I have an award winning purple goatee.
Yes, you do. So, what'd you win?
Bragging rights.
Okay, good enough. That's the best thing.
Bragging rights.
Yeah. So
and
I
by the
want
way,
to
the word is heterogenic. The word is
what
heterogenics.
Is it? Heterogenics. What does that mean?
I have no idea. I've just heard the word used and thrown around. people who I don't think know what the word means.
Okay, Sherry McQueen's here. She's on it. Whenever there's a question about something, I don't know what she's got next to her, but she's and see, she already put the autism .com in there. Sherry, what does the word? What is it again?
Heterogenics.
Okay, that word. What does that mean, Sherry? So I want to thank you, JR. You look great, by the way. I love the matching scarf. You got your little derby going on.
Hey,
your glasses are tinted purple.
Always. And by the way, it is -9 before the wind chill right now.
Wow.
See and how I did not know that you were in Naperville, by the way.
Oh, you're familiar with Naperville?
My ex-wife was at Great Lakes for 2.5 years.
Oh, the naval base?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I lived around there for a couple years.
Okay. How long ago was that, JR?
Oh, 92, 93.
Okay. Long before I was here.
Yeah.
So listen, I want to thank you for driving the 40 minutes just to share your soul with us. You know, that's our theme this year here on this season, rather, here on which is a year on Bathrobe Moments. Show me your soul and I'll show you mine. And so I really appreciate it. I love bringing attention and raising awareness to autism, and so that we can understand it better and not just wait for it to be National Autism Month or week or day, because the people that are dealing with it deal with it 365 days a year. And you're one of those people. So why don't you just say hello to everybody and just jump right in, if you could, and tell us about your personal experience. What type, because there's a variety of things on that spectrum. Which one do you live with?
Well, like Tucker Bearden, I have Asperger's. I am at a very interesting age as far as autism goes. I'm 55, which means I was out of high school for 12 years before they started diagnosing autism in kids.
What did they call it before? What did they think it was?
Well, according to my teachers, it was weird, stupid, and lazy.
Quit playing.
No, I'm not playing.
For real?
For real.
Well, you know, because that makes sense, because they used to. Yeah, remember when they used to call special ed, and we, you know, when we were, and this is all for the sake of education, but that's back when people thought retarded. Remember that word?
No, exactly.
Oh, yeah, right.
Exactly. And it's not getting any better now. I've got a neighbor who will never see this, so I really don't care, who told me when I moved here 4 years ago that I didn't look autistic. And I kind of went, huh, well, what does an autistic person look like? You describe somebody with Down syndrome.
Oh, see, that's just ignorance. They just didn't know the difference.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why I talk as much as I do and write as much as I do, as much about awareness as it is acceptance of who we are. You know, and just like you said, autism is a spectrum. A lot of people that are autistic are not thrilled with what they did with the DSM a couple years ago, where they lumped everything together into one, because, you know, there are very distinct characteristics to, say, Asperger's as opposed to other forms of autism. But you know what? Hey, we're all in it together. There's none of us that are any better off, any worse off than anybody else on the spectrum. So put us all together. That's fine with me.
Right. Now, I am actually on another page copying that word, because Sherry McQueen said you broke up when she was trying to hear what the word is. So Sherry, I've copied it, I'm pasting it, and there it is in the chat, I think. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So listen, tell us about your experiences when you were a kid, let's say middle school, high school. What was different about you? What was different?
What wasn't different? I was very socially awkward. I had an extremely high IQ, though I didn't know it at the time, which is a lot of people with Asperger's find themselves with high IQs, but I want to point out that having a high IQ doesn't mean anything. I've got a high IQ and I've got an associate's degree. There are people
High
with
IQ. Wait,
IQs.
wait. Did you say a high IQ doesn't mean anything?
Doesn't mean anything as far as education goes and what kind of degree you have.
Oh, thank you. I'm off the hook because I always, oh, thank goodness. I thought okay, because I probably, I don't know. I've never been tested, but it's probably, I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying that, I mean, I've got a higher IQ. I've got an associate's degree because I can't focus and I have a hard time paying attention and getting through school. Now, there are people with IQs that are 40, 50 points lower than mine that might have master's degrees or working on their PhD. So that's why I say that IQ really doesn't mean anything as far as your education
what you're capable
and
of.
what kind of job you have. Right.
And what you're capable of. Yes. I want to say real quick, let me butt in real quick if you would here. I haven't seen my dear friend Agnes Overman Torres coming to us, watching us from Puerto Rico. Agnes, how are you? How's your health? Agnes had open heart surgery not long ago. Yeah, and she's doing great, I'm hoping. And just we've missed you. Nice to see you. And nice to see all of you, Sherry and Michelle and all of the rest of you. Thank you so much. Robert Brooker, so nice to have you all here. Thank you for sharing your soul with us. So what, did you get bullied?
Oh, I got bullied quite a bit. You know, I was kind of a mix between Sheldon and Leonard from The Big Bang Theory in a way. You know, class for sports sometimes, even though I was a pretty decent athlete. Nobody wanted to play with me, hang out with me, you know, sat alone a lot at lunch. Had my interest, you know, things like comic books and stuff like that, which, you know, as you mentioned earlier, there are sometimes very specific interests that people on the spectrum will have, almost to the point of obsessing, which I'm not going to say that I'm like that, but you haven't seen my home office. So,
oh, let me tell you, Tucker, when I first met Tucker and we had our first Zoom call together, his bedroom, which he basically lived out of at the time, it was his sanctuary. He didn't venture far, and not out of the house at all, except to go work with the horses. He couldn't work with regular people, so he worked 14 hours a day with just animals. But his room was filled with books, floor to ceiling on one side of the room. And he lived and experienced and explored vicariously through story. I found that very interesting. And he's a fantastic speaker. He's just written his own book now, The Plate That Broke the World. And so I'm really proud of him. So let me ask you this question. When you were in school, because now we know that autism is everywhere. There's all kinds of people. Almost every family or neighborhood has someone that, you know, so it's not such a
oh, no. It's
what?
not. It's out there.
Huh?
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, it's
out there.
It's everywhere. But my question is this. So before they diagnosed it, you said you ate lunch by yourself a lot. So where were the other? Because obviously the statistics say that 1 in 45 or 22% of US adults are affected by autism and 1 in 54 kids. So were there more than 108 kids at your school? At elementary or high school?
Actually, there was 105 in my graduating class at my high school.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at, there were more kids that.
Okay, so you never saw another kid. You guys weren't ever drawn together because look, we're kind of, you know, like band geeks. You know, kids that are band geeks. Right. They kind of gravitate to each other. You know, the kids back then with headgear and stuff kind of gravitated to each other. So why do you think it is that you guys couldn't identify each other? You understand what I'm saying? It's like, hey, we're kind of similar.
And you know, it's funny because now I can spend a little bit of time around somebody and tell sometimes fairly quickly whether or not I think they might be on the spectrum. But back then, nobody knew what there was. I mean, as I like to say, I grew up without a spectrum to be on because there really was no spectrum until the early 90s.
Oh,
I mean,
Christopher, do you know Christopher Casson?
I know the name.
Christopher's here, and Christopher. Christopher, wasn't that the case when Christopher was in our competition, the Next Impactor, a couple years ago? And Christopher, when you came aboard for the competition, I believe you were kind of shrouded inside the house yourself, right? Put in the comments, tell us about that, Christopher. So Jr. What did the diagnosis or them naming autism and the spectrum thing, what did that do to change how you looked at yourself? Was it freeing? Was it liberating?
Oh, absolutely.
To understand. Okay, talk about that.
Now I've got an answer for why I'm so weird, why I do these quirky things, why I have these interests that I should have given up when I was 14, like, the comic books,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so freeing. And I actually walked out of the psychologist's office and I said to myself, I'm not weird, I'm just autistic. Which is where the blog
I love
and the
that.
website and all that came from. So, I mean, yes, and you can ask my girlfriend. I am still weird. But
okay, well, who is it? I'm weird.
Yeah, exactly. But,
Wow.
I now have an answer for it. And I had been writing as a freelance writer for almost 20 years at that point. And probably a month later, I just came to the conclusion that I was done writing about travel and covering the Anaheim Ducks and writing about NASCAR and food and all that. And I was going to focus all my writing on autism and developmental disabilities, anxiety, depression, ADHD, which are all things that I deal with. Because nobody has just autism. You're not just autistic. You've always got something, whether it's the ADHD or whether it's anxiety or depression or OCD, or you've always got something going along with it.
Yeah, I have ADHD, and I just, it's interesting that you bring up OCD, because this morning my husband was trying to give me a hug, and I was like, lift your hand, because there was like a little piece of like an almond shell or something on the counter, and it just bugged me. And I have to get to it. I can't, but that's probably the ADHD. I'm hoping I don't have another thing. But let me say this. Interestingly enough, for everybody out there, here are a few people who you may have never known were autistic or on the autism spectrum, who made a big influence on the world we live in today. For instance, Dan Aykroyd, Hans Christian Andersen, Susan Boyle. Now, we knew that because she uses that in her platform. Tim Burton, the movie director. Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland. I'm not going to read them all. Emily Dickinson, Albert Einstein, Bobby Fischer, the chess grandmaster, Bill Gates, Daryl Hannah, Thomas Jefferson, Steve Jobs, Alfred Kinsey, Stanley Kubrick, the film director, Barbara McClintock, who is a scientist, Michelangelo, Mozart, Sir Isaac Newton, Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, Andy Warhol, and that's just to name a few. So what do you think they called those people before they gave autism and the spectrum ADS? What do you think those people like?
Crazy.
Well, let's just say, remember the movie about Mozart? Remember Amadeus?
Oh, I love that movie.
I did too. And remember how he was just like, oh, right. So do you think that was the autism?
I think that was part of the autism, but I think he probably also had a little schizophrenia or some extreme paranoia or something going along with that too. But yeah, I believe a lot of that probably was the autism.
Okay, so JR, let's go back to what you said, because I thought that was a really interesting point. When you said autism, most people dealing with autism have other things going on as well. So do these things like the ones let's talk about you. Do you feel that those other things, the ADHD, the depression and whatnot, did they ride piggyback on the autism, or did the autism ride piggyback on them? In other words, which came first, the autism or the egg?
Well, the diagnosis for the other stuff came way before the autism diagnosis.
Okay.
But
well, good point.
You're born autistic. So I think everything just kind of, I think one piggybacks off the other. I think they're all part of who you are. And you know what? Who you are is awesome. You know, everybody is awesome in their own way for their own reasons and are great at their own things. So I think it's just part of who you are.
Right.
I personally don't like to say I have autism, because to me it sounds like I have cancer, I have, dementia, I have Parkinson's. I don't. I'm autistic. It's part of who I am.
Right.
It's not what I have.
Ah, great point. Christopher Casson says, I was diagnosed with Asperger's at around 5 or 6. And he also goes on to say that you pretty much, only few obsessions, such as Pokemon tournaments and wanting to ride roller coasters, got me out of my room. Did you ever deal with that? Were you ever like sequestered? Did you struggle with getting out of your immediate space, JR?
I stayed pretty close to my home growing up. Yeah. I mean, I didn't venture a lot to other kids' houses. I had to park 4 houses up the street from me. I went there from time to time, but only when I knew it wasn't going to be really crowded and I wouldn't have to interact with other people. Not because I knew I was autistic, just because I knew I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I can totally understand what he's saying.
And I just want to say, I thought I knew, and even my husband, Brian, who is a psychotherapist and has been for almost 30 years. When we first met Tucker in person, it was in Las Vegas, of all places for a person with Asperger's to come. I think that was his first plane ride, if I'm not mistaken. And
it was.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was his first.
I remember him telling the story about this. Yes, that was his first plane ride.
Yeah, his first plane ride, and I was so concerned, which is why I was really grateful that my husband was there, because he knew he was really prepared to deal with any of the meltdowns that might happen or might occur. And we were at Joshua Berglund. You guys know him, Gratitude Unfiltered, Joshua T. Berglund. We were all there and we were having drinks after dinner, and it was all of a sudden we started seeing something happen with Tucker. And it was almost like he was watching a world that none of us could see. And then he explained to us that it was he could feel and sense and hear the electricity, the electric currents in the light bulbs. He could hear the ice clinking in someone across the room's glass. And it was we're in Las Vegas. We're sitting outside on their deck, but we're right on the strip. I think we were at the Mirage or someplace. And it was very, very concerning, because I could physically see him fighting it off. And I was like, oh my goodness, what do you do? Have you ever yourself or been around someone where this happens? Explain what that is, if you could.
Well, I can say it's myself, for one. The reason I live in the Missouri Ozarks right now and have for 4 years is because I grew up in Los Angeles, right on the Orange County border, and it was sensory overload from hell. I mean, my senses just overload. And that's what Tucker was going through. He was going through sensory overload. His senses were overloaded with all the noises, all the sounds, all the commotion going on around him. And I can just tell from listening to the story that you're telling, that's exactly what it was. And that's why I got out of Southern California 4 years ago, to escape all that. Because it was just 24/7 nonstop.
Yeah.
And I love it here, except for days like today and the past week. It's been negative and there's no snow and no power.
Right. Now, I want to say, to use Tucker because he's given me permission to share our experiences together. And I just want to say, so then here's another thing. Another reason I'm so proud of all of the advocates and allies for raising awareness to autism, because when we have these conversations, it really can save a life, save a situation. I'm telling you, because later, down the road, like a year later, I was in Texas speaking at Texas A&M, and then I had to go from Austin to Houston for Eric Swanson's event, which Tucker was also speaking at then. And even though people had heard his story, and I don't think many of the people that were in attendance had actually, including the other speakers, had actually listened to what Tucker had said the process is when this thing starts happening, because it happened while we were there and nobody there knew what to do. All the people that had been like, hey, Tucker, let's get a picture. Hey, Tucker, hey, Tucker. When Tucker shifted into the other spectrum where it was starting to happen, I knew it because of Las Vegas. And so I knew he had already told me, he likes to get away from it, be removed, get out, just away. The less people, the better. And so I took him and I had to pull him away from people because this is what got me. Everybody wanted to act like they knew what to do, but they had not had the conversation with him to know what he needed. They were doing what they thought. Either they saw it on television or they read it in some little, I don't know what they did, where they were getting their intel, but it was not what Tucker needed. But everybody wanted to look like they knew the face of Asperger's. And it pissed me off. Because I had to physically push a couple people, get away from him. Because everybody wants to smother you. Are you okay? What can I do for you? Come with me? Let's go here. And I was like, leave him alone. So talk about that. What can we do to help understand what to do when you see something happening?
Understand.
Or just to understand just to understand. Right. Go ahead.
Understand first off that we have our idiosyncrasies, and that as a group, and this is speaking very generally, because as Dr. Stephen Mark Shore, the only autistic professor of autism in the country from Adelphi University, said, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, meaning that we all are on the spectrum. But yeah, I mean, where I deal with ADHD and a little bit of OCD and a lot of anxiety and a little depression, somebody else may have exactly what I've got, but deal with a lot of depression, no anxiety, no ADHD. We're all very unique people. So I think when you start sensing that someone's uncomfortable like that, first thing is ask them what you can do to help them.
Let them tell you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, let them tell you. I've got a service dog that just quickly is a rescue. He comes from a place in Missouri where they take rescue dogs. My dog was found in a garbage bag in a dumpster at 6 months old, and he can now sense when I'm starting to have, black lab boxer mix in a dumpster at 6 months old.
I ain't even gonna go there. Okay. Meant for you, clearly.
Yeah, clearly meant for me. He may be the only autistic service dog out there, actually. I think he's on the spectrum too. He acts a little weird and quirky, just like I do.
Nice.
In fact, he has his own Instagram page. I just started that last week because I had there was no power.
So you had something, right? I get it.
But Kai, who's my service dog, is one of his things that he's trained to do is when he sees I'm starting to have a panic attack or a meltdown, and I'm in a crowded situation, he will pull me away from that crowd and get me away from that situation so I can just calm down and relax.
And get
last year when I spoke at Missouri State Capitol, 1,500 people in an enclosed space in the rotunda of the state capitol, where noise echoes and echoes and echoes all around that place. I got done doing my speaking. I went backstage. I grabbed my messenger bag, and I was out the back door. I was not going back out front to talk to anybody. I was not going to shake hands, say hi. I just needed to, I mean, personally, I mean, I wanted to, I really did. But personally, I knew that I had a 3-hour drive home. And if I was going to make that 3-hour drive, I needed to get out of there right that moment.
Right then, just like that. When we come back from
away from the crowd.
Yeah. Thank you for that. When we come back from our break, we got a little break here now, JR and all of you. I'd like to talk about a little bit more about what brought you to the Missouri State Capitol, what they expected from you, and what do you feel you contributed to the masses that day. Okay, what was on. Okay, we want to talk about that. And I want to talk for just a couple minutes when we return about service dogs.
Okay.
How we should look at people that have them, but then also on the other side of the spectrum, I've heard that there are a lot of people who abuse the having of a service dog, like to get things that they shouldn't be getting, or I don't know. Let's talk about how that is working, because we see more and more service animals, and I want people to and let's talk about, if we could, what they really bring to the world of the person that they're with. What is
Absolutely.
that? Okay, because we know the term, but I don't really know much more than that. So when we come back, if we can hit that. Okay, listen, you guys, as we go into commercial, I want to show you something coming up in just a couple weeks. I'm going to have a second show on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. here on the E360 network. And it is an LGBTQ show entitled The Other Side of the Rainbow, helping to do the same thing we're doing here today about autism, just parting the curtain and giving people a closer look without the cataracts of grooming by the media, by urban myths, all those things that make us believe that we know what we know when we really don't know jack about the truth.
That sounds
so
awesome.
We're going to do that. Yeah. So we'll be right back, but take a look at what's coming up in just a couple short weeks. Okay, well, I want to say thank you, and hats off to my sponsor for today, Jennifer J. Hammond of the Jennifer J. Hammond Sirius XM radio show on the Urban Network. And get over and check out the event that's coming up. I'm speaking at it as well. It is a real estate investment summit. And I bet you're thinking, Lauren, what do you know about real estate investing? I don't, but they always ask me to come in and talk about mindset. And you can't shut me up when it comes to that. So I hope you can join us coming up the 26th, 27th, and 28th. Of the month. So we're back with J.R. Reed talking about all things autistic and autism and the spectrum. And I wanted to go tell us a little bit, how did you get chosen? How did this come about that you spoke at the state capitol? That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I've worked with the Missouri Developmental Disability Council for a couple years, and they're the ones who put this on. And they every year have a disability rights legislative day at the state capitol. They have an hour worth of speaking, and then they get all the advocates and self-advocates to go around and talk to their legislators, introduce themselves, and talk about why they should vote positively for bills and laws that are coming up that have things to do with disability rights. So they asked me if I would take 5 minutes, because they had 12 speakers, the governor, 10 politicians, and then myself as the only non-politician.
How many politicians does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Probably the whole House and the whole Senate and a couple of subcommittees.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're safe. You're in with them. I can't even answer that though. I'll disappear off the planet.
Trust me. Do not let me in a safe with politicians. There are politicians in Missouri that do not like me.
Oh, I imagine so. So JR, yeah. Okay, great. Go ahead, finish your thought.
So going back to this, what they asked me to talk about was being a self-advocate and then just kind of pumping them up to go and talk to their legislators when we were done. So that's exactly what I did. I walked up on stage and first thing I said was, I kind of looked around and said, wow. I said, so for somebody on the spectrum, there are a couple of things that freak you out. Large crowds and a lot of random noise. So I'd like to thank the 15 of you for being crammed into this tiny little space.
And being quiet. Right.
And that kind of got a chuckle from people. And I just talked about how important it is that we as self-advocates, especially, and as advocates, get out there and talk, because, I live in a town of 4,000 people. Mm-hmm. And for everybody, that's in my town, there's got to be quite a few people on the spectrum with other developmental disabilities who don't say anything or who feel like they can't say anything. So I have to be their voice.
Great point. So JR, self-advocate. That is we know about advocates, but I'll be honest with you. Until I read your bio, I don't think I was clear on that terminology. Talk about that. Self-advocate, and then if you could. Okay, wait a minute.
So
I want to give you two parts. So I can shut up. So self-advocate, and then take that, if you would, and roll into, what about that person that's walking around right now, watching even, and doesn't even know that they're on the spectrum? What are some of the things that may lead a person to seeking to find out, could I possibly be on the autistic spectrum? Because I believe there's people walking around that don't even have a clue that that's what the issue is. And third part. Do you, you said disabled when you were talking about going to the Capitol. Do you believe you're disabled? Do you think that's an accurate term? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's see. The first part about self-advocate, it's really just being an advocate who has whatever condition, problem, whatever you want to call it, that you're advocating for. If you were to advocate for autism, Lauren, you'd be an advocate. I'm autistic.
Oh, but because I don't have it. Got it.
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
So that's
I can be a self-advocate. I can be a self-advocate for LGBTQ issues.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you're advocating for yourself.
About that new show of yours.
Got it.
And let's see. The second part was.
Don't ask me. I forgot 13 seconds after I said it.
Well, okay. So the third part was, what if somebody's walking around and
Oh, that's the second
they
one.
think?
How do what? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is it possible to
Okay.
have it
So,
and not know it?
oh, absolutely. I was 46 when I got diagnosed. I started thinking and studying what could be wrong with me when I was in my early 40s. And it was probably 43, 44 that I thought, well, maybe I'm on the spectrum. But I finally got diagnosed and told yes at age 46. So it
Well,
is very possible and extremely likely that there's a lot of people out there.
so when a person finds out that they're actually on the spectrum, though, here's the thing. It's not like they can say, oh, guess what? Good news. You're not going crazy. You're actually on the autistic spectrum. So you're dealing with ADS. So here you go. Take 2 of these every morning and call me if it, no. I mean, it's not like they can give you something for it.
Right. Right.
So
There
what
is
so
no
what
cure.
changes? So what changes? What's the primary change agent in the world of a person who didn't know on Wednesday, but now on Friday they get the call or they sit down with their doctor and they say this is what it is? How different is that person on Saturday just because they know what it is? How does that help?
Okay, Lauren, get your finger by the bell. Mindset.
Mindset,
It's how you,
understanding, clarity.
it's how you look at it. I'll give you a good example. The book I'm currently writing, which is my second book, is Autism is My Superpower. I mean, so your third question, is it a disability? Technically, yes. Do I look at it as a disability? No.
Right.
I look at it as part of who I am, the way I was
Right.
born. You know, nothing I can do to fix it, nothing I can do to change it. So let's just live the best we can with it
Right.
and be our happiest selves.
I agree. Ringing the bell on that one. Great point, JR. What here? How about this? Is this an urban myth, or do you feel that it is true, if not in all cases, some cases of autism? The thing about I've heard people actually when someone says, "Yeah, we just found out that little Jennifer is on the spectrum." Ooh, that's probably why she plays the piano so well. A lot of people think that being gifted, because what isn't there a word for starts with an S?
Savant.
A savant. Yeah. So
Savant.
but that's not the case with every autistic person. But is that the only place?
No.
Talk about that whole thing.
Okay, well, for example, let's go back to the classic movie Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman's character was an autistic savant. His savant gift was the math and the numbers and, blowing through all that. So really, while they portrayed him as being autistic, they really were looking more of his savant skill set rather than him being autistic.
Right, that was the focus.
Right. But people look at it the wrong way and think that's autism. It's not. There's another urban myth that's out there. The people that have Asperger's are more intelligent than people that are off the spectrum. Studies have shown that people with Asperger's are just as likely to have a high IQ as people off the spectrum.
Okay.
So that's another myth.
Ooh, I almost knocked my shake over. What about this? Do you feel the character Forrest Gump? They never said what Forrest was dealing with.
Yes.
So you think they were portraying autism?
Absolutely.
Now, why do you think such a huge movie with such a huge storyline, they didn't try to hide any of it, but they never once put a name to the condition? And even Tom Hanks in his interviews and stuff, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I didn't hear it. Maybe somebody else could shed some light on this out there. Put it in the comments if you know anything. But why do you think Hollywood will, or even anywhere, but Hollywood, let's use them as an example, would use something, such a huge box office smash, has, impact on millions and millions of people. Tom Hanks, one of the greatest actors in the world, but then they do a great job at portraying it, but they never once mentioned the word autism.
When did the movie come out? Late 80s, early 90s, probably? And the movie came out
Oh,
probably the 90s, right?
yeah.
They didn't know a whole lot about autism in adults to explain it and talk about it enough.
I can't believe that we are that recent in understanding what this is. Just boggles my mind.
Lauren, I graduated high school in 1984. It was 1994 to 1996 when they started diagnosing kids with autism.
Somebody look up Sherry, find out when Forrest Gump came out. That was a great answer because that makes sense. Now that makes sense. Okay. Go on, JR.
Okay? And when they first started diagnosing, they focused on kids. They left the adults alone. So that's why a lot of us didn't get diagnosed until our 30s, our 40s, our early 50s. I talked to a guy the other day that was diagnosed when he was 62. Now imagine going 62 years of your life
and
not
not know.
knowing why you were the way you were. I mean,
Wow.
I think about going 46 years and I'm shocked by that, let alone
So
62.
JR, what were the top three things that you remember as a child that people associated, or what was the sticker they put on you when it was really autism all along? What did they call it? You're this, you're
Um,
that, he's this.
well, weird, stupid, and lazy from my teachers, from my family, and from my teachers. It was you're not going to live up to your potential, or you're not capable of living up to your potential. Um, Speaking of Forrest Gump, I actually had a boss for 10 years when I worked as a sales manager at an auto dealership who called me Forrest Gump on a daily basis and thought it was funny. But I
How
wasn't
did
laughing
you
a whole lot.
feel? How did you feel?
Well, since I hadn't been diagnosed yet, I took it as a huge insult. But you got to remember, this is the car business in a major city. So you stick with the devil you know rather than go someplace else and fight with the devil you don't know.
So how is it today? How is it today, JR, when you meet somebody new, or they don't know that you don't, I'm sure you don't walk in and say, "Hi, I'm JR Reed and I'm on the spectrum." So
Not generally,
how
no.
how does that, so do people still think, well, there's something a little off about that, JR?
Uh, Sometimes, and it's not just the purple goatee being in Missouri, you know.
Because
um,
I don't see anything here that would make me think that you were different than anybody else I know.
no, but if we were to have a long conversation and talk about things, it you might see a little signs of some insecurity or not being able to process, and come up with a word quick enough, or I don't know,
Mm,
it could be a hundred little things. But no,
okay.
it's not completely noticeable right off the bat. Now, I will tell you this: when it comes to dating, I have found that it's best to tell women about being on the spectrum pretty early. Otherwise, you just go through some heartbreak, and then as soon as they find out, you're going to get ghosted and dumped anyway.
How do women take that, JR? When you drop
Um,
that on them, is it like, oh,
well, it's ignorant. They People are afraid of what they don't understand. People don't know what autism really is, so they're afraid of it. So I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've been talking to a woman, or other people on the spectrum that have been talking to a man, or I mean, whatever their gig is, it's all good with me, you know. But as soon as people hear that somebody's on the spectrum, that throws up a lot of red flags to them because they just don't know what to expect.
is
I'm
autism
lucky enough.
hereditary?
That's tough. Um, People think it is. People think it's not. Um, I think it's really too early to tell until we find a true cause. But I know families that have 2 and 3 autistic kids and possibly an autistic parent. And then there's families like mine where I'm the only one as far back as my family can remember.
Or how do
So
they know? What about, you know
exactly
what I'm saying? They just called it something else back there, maybe.
right, right. But I mean, like with my grandparents, And I'm looking back at my parents and my grandparents and the way they acted and the way they reacted. And after my diagnosis, I started studying that more to see if I was the first in the family. I just was remembering conversations and interactions and vacations and things like that. And I honestly believe I'm the first in my family.
Wow. Okay. So JR, share with everyone what you would like to see happen, why you're here today, why you do these things, why you're a self-proclaimed self-advocate of autism. What would you like to see us do better as a people?
Well, first off, one of the reasons I'm here is Lauren, is I love you and I love what you stand for and I love what you preach.
Thank you.
So that's part of it. But the reason I do what I do is to help somebody like me when I was 43, 44, 45, who doesn't yet know, or who has just been diagnosed and is really struggling. A lot of the work I do is with kids coming out of high school and college and, trying to get into life on their own, and teaching them coping skills and, what they're going to, the fact that they can't just get out of high school and move out with no car, no, public transportation, no job, kind of have a little come to Jesus meetings with them.
Right. Well, you sure seem like you are just, you took this information when you were diagnosed and you took great to greater. You took smart to smarter. You took nice, you went from nice to nicer. And so I think it was a true benefit, a true blessing. It is a birthright. Anything that we can do to help other people find the ER and make something better than it was is a great thing. This has always been a blessing, and it will always continue to be because of the way you speak to it, through it, and for it. And I'm so proud to know you. And thank you so much for sharing your soul with us here today, for driving 40 minutes just to make sure you could provide a word to someone who needed it. That means a lot. And we can learn a lot from your example. So Lauren, hats off to you for that.
It's what I do. You know what? And I wouldn't have thought twice about doing this.
Well, I appreciate
as soon as I realized my power was out and I wasn't going to have anything, I set the alarm for 6 in the morning. And
that's awesome.
I got my cardio in. I was out shoveling to my car too.
Yeah, boy, I bet you guys got some up there, didn't you? You get some.
How much about what you did? About 6, 8, 9 inches.
Yeah. Now listen, I want you guys to get over to notweirdjustautistic.com. You'll find it on the screen right here. Get over. If nothing else, educate yourself. Pass this on to someone else. Just take a look. Okay, help us help each other. And we do that through conversation. It's just that easy. Now, I want to thank you for the last time for being here. You're looking great. Thank you for joining us and sharing your soul. Same to all of you out there. Now, do me a favor, won't you please? Get out there and do what we do. We love up on everyone and every situation we encounter, because when we love unconditionally, we automatically want to leave those situations and those people just a tad bit better than the way they found it. And I want you to do that when you run into me on the street. I really do. I want to go from great to greater, and together is how we do that. Join me tomorrow morning, Wednesday the 17th, where our guest here will be Michael Weitzman, and he is a performer, an advocate, a speaker, all kinds of things. And we're going to share our souls tomorrow and do it all over again. Get out there now and be the blessing in the world that you'd like to see. Be the gift that you'd like to receive. I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. I'll see you tomorrow morning, God willing, out front on the front porch for our next installment of Bathrobe Moments. Be blessed. Bye-bye, y'all. Bye. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for the comment. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. JR, have a great day, man. Drive safely.
Hey, I will do my best. You too, Lauren. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You know what? I want to say one more thing. I want to ask one more thing. When is Autism Awareness Month?
April.
So in April, I'm going to do something with a panel of you all. Get Tom Island. I don't know if you know him. Tucker, Christopher Casson. Okay, I want to get like 5 of you on, and we'll do a special to raise awareness. And if you've got a nonprofit that you'd like us to help raise some money for, we can do that too. But get with me. I'd like to work with you on that.
I would love to do that, Lauren. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome. There we go. It's a deal. Bye, everybody. Sorry to keep you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
All right.